Hello and thank you for the click. In today's video we're going to check out a new accessory for the 1/6 scale GRS Build-A-Cade arcade cabinet called the GRS Panel Pod. The Panel Pod is an impressive accessory brought to you by none other than our friend Glenn at Glenn's Retro Show, Arcade Workshop, and available at thunderstickstudio.com. What makes the Panel Pod unique is that you can easily swap out miniature arcade control panels for use with the Build-A-Cade, allowing you to play your favorite games using controls intended for that game. Another interesting feature is that the controls not only work with the Build-A-Cade, but most any other device with a USB port. In this video, we'll not only try it out with the Build-A-Cade, but also the Steam Deck running Build-A-Cade and the ROG Ally running EmuDeck under Windows 11. I'm John, and welcome to Wagner's Tech Talk. In October of 2022, we discussed the GRS Build-A-Cade, which uses a single board computer, such as a Pi 4, a 3, 3B+, among others, to allow you to build and customize this 1/6 scale arcade cabinet. The Build-A-Cade is a kit that you put together yourself, and since my original video I have added this Defender artwork to match my original 1981 Defender arcade cabinet. GRS has a number of replacement control panels so you can customize the Build-A-Cade to support the type of controls that you want on the machine. For example, there's a 2-stick panel for games like Robotron, a trackball for games like Millipede, spinner for Tempest, a 3-button stick panel which I have installed currently, as well as the panel that ships with the Build-A-Cade. Each are sold separately. While replacing the panels in the Build-A-Cade can be done in a matter of several minutes, it's something I personally rarely do as it's a bit cumbersome, especially if I just want to play a quick game that uses a particular set of controls. Well, GRS recognized this and has created the perfect solution by allowing you to easily pop in any control deck into the GRS Panel Pod and start playing. Let's open the box and check it out. As mentioned, the control panels are sold separately, and you will need at least one available to assemble the Panel Pod. It does include a nice little insert to provide you with some basic information. Each of the two sides are held in with these 4 magnets. It all holds together very well, and it's nice that you don't need any tools to put it together. We'll set aside the bag for now. Gen Xers are well aware, but as tempting as it may be to some, don't eat this. It could be bad. Inside the bag, you'll find some rubber feet you can apply to the bottom of the panel pod to prevent it from sliding across your desk, a roughly 6-foot long USB-A to USB-C cable, and 2 additional adapters, which we'll discuss in a moment. On the back, you'll find a D-pad and 3 buttons that can be mapped to navigate the system. We'll kick off the assembly by installing the trackball panel, plug in the GPIO connector, which is keyed and can be inserted incorrectly into the panel, and then the same for the USB controller cable. Remove the other side panel, then connect the 2 cables to the board in the panel pod. Now align the control panel over the lip of the back panel, then the bottom portion, and from here just pop in the 2 side panels that are being held together with magnets, and really that's all there is to it. Pretty darn easy. From here we'll connect the USB-C end of the cable to the controller and the USB-A end into the Build-A-Cade. In the next segment we'll discuss mapping the controls. Now we'll discuss the GRS Panel Pod control mapping. When you first plug in the Panel Pod into the Build-A-Cade, it isn't going to respond immediately. You'll need to map the buttons. To do that, press the P1 or Start button, then move down to Configure Input, press the A button, and the A button again on Yes to configure the inputs. Now press and hold any button until you see that the gamepad has been recognized. Using the trackball panel as an example, this diagram is essentially how you'll want to map each of the buttons. Let's quickly step through it. From here, you'll press the D-pad up button, then the down, left, and right locations. Then press the white P1 Start button for start. For select, press the button near the D-pad, then press the far left red button on the panel for A, middle for B, and the last one for X. Press the P2 white button for Y. Until you get to the hotkey Enable selection, simply press and hold A for each of the buttons listed. At the hotkey Enable, press the button nearest the D-pad. At this point, press the A button on OK and the B to go back. And that's it. The buttons for this panel are all mapped. The Build-A-Cade automatically sorts the games based on the controls, so I'll move down and select Trackball and load up one of my favorite games, Millipede. To insert a credit, press the Select button and the P1 Start button, and we're ready to go. While playing Millipede, I realized I had forgotten to put the rubber feet on the panel pod, so I'll go ahead and take care of that now. Just remove the backing on each and position one in each of the four corners at the bottom, and they'll keep it from sliding around. If you want to tweak the analog sensitivity for any of the games, hold the joystick in the down position and press and hold the second coin door button to bring up the main menu. Move down to Analog Controls. From here, you can make various adjustments such as the dial sensitivity. I'll increase this value to 50%, then select Return to Main Menu, and at the bottom option, Return to Game. The button mapping for the spinner panel is identical to that of the trackball, so we'll skip over that. However, the dual stick panel is a little bit different. I'll quickly swap over to that panel. There we go. From here, we'll repeat the same steps we did for the trackball panel, except when it comes to the mapping of the A, B, X, and Y buttons, we'll use the directions on the right stick, that is, up, down, left, and right. You can use any direction for any button. We'll remap them correctly in a moment. At this point, we just want Emulation Station to be aware that those buttons on the right stick are available. Now we'll select the dual joystick option, select Robotron, and start up the game. We'll enter the main menu as we did before by pressing down on the joystick and holding the second coin door button. Then select Input this game and map the left stick up, down, left, and right, and the same for the right stick, up, down, left, and right. Then move down to Return to Main Menu, followed by Return to Game. Now press the Select button to insert a credit and start up the game. From here, you'll move the character with the left stick and shoot in any of the 8 directions with the right stick. Next, we'll discuss using the GRS panel pod with some popular handheld devices. Two of the more popular handhelds today are the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, and we'll do a quick test on both with the GRS panel pod. On the Steam Deck, we'll use Batocera and EmuDeck on the ROG Ally. I have a dedicated guide for setting up Batocera on the Steam Deck, which I'll link to above and in the description below. I don't yet have an EmuDeck guide for the ROG Ally, so if you're interested in that, please let me know in the comments below. For the initial setup on both, you'll likely want a dock with a keyboard attached, as we will need to bring up the MAME configuration, which is much easier with a keyboard. However, once set up, you won't need the keyboard and can simply use a USB-A to USB-C adapter. Let's quickly go over the Steam Deck configuration. As mentioned, you may find setup easier with the dock attached to allow connecting both the keyboard and the panel pod during the initial setup. Map the sticks in Emulation Station in the same way we did earlier under RetroPie. Then select the main game, and in Batocera you can press and hold the selection button, which is typically the A button. I'll then go into Advanced Game Options and set the emulator to Libretto MAME, launch the game, then press the Tab key on the keyboard to bring up the menu. Take the options to change the game settings, then press the Enter key on the keyboard for fire up, and move the right stick in the up position. Repeat for down, left, and right on the right stick. Then map the move up to the up position on the left stick, and repeat for down, left, right on the left stick. Then you can escape out of the main configuration menu. Now we can use the GRS panel pod to play Robotron. Of course, you can do the same thing with the Steam Deck sticks, but this is another option. On the ROG Ally, we'll use the trackball panel. I've already mapped the controller and emulation station, the same as what we did in RetroPie. I won't need the keyboard here. Instead, I'll just connect this USB-A to USB-C adapter to the panel pod. MAME 2010 will recognize the trackball immediately, so I'll press the select button, move down to edit this game's metadata, then scroll down to alternative emulator, and make sure MAME 2010 is selected. We'll now start up the classic game, Marble Madness, which is of course a game that can't be played as easily without a trackball. That brings us to the end of another video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the GRS panel pod. The panel pod makes using the various control options much easier to swap out, and the ability to use them with other devices such as the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally is a huge plus. I can definitely see packing a few of them in my bag for on-the-go arcade action. What do you think of the GRS panel pod? Comment below and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by clicking the like button. If you don't want to miss any future how-to videos from yours truly and haven't subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing so. With that, I look forward to talking with you again very soon.